Hello there, good evening and welcome to the news tonight here on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tracy Shilshi and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting the day's top stories. Let's start with the headlines. Proceedings are stalled again in Rajya Sabha. Opposition refuses to budge on the Lalit Modi controversy and the Vyapam scam. Congress and left MPs hold protests in Lok Sabha as well, demand resignations of the External Affairs Minister and Chief Ministers of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Rajya Sabha Select Committee submits its report on the Goods and Services Tax Bill, endorses majority provisions, but Congress, AIADMK and left parties submit dissent notes. And Delhi Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung cancels the appointment of the new Delhi Commission for Women Chief, demands explanation from Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal as to why his approval was not taken first. Our top story, proceedings in the upper house were stalled as the opposition cornered the BJP over the Lalit Modi controversy and Vyapam scam for the second consecutive day of the monsoon session. They demanded the Prime Minister's reply and immediate dismissal of the tainted ministers. But the government launched a counter-attack, discarding the demands. The standoff then led to several adjournments through the day, with the House finally being adjourned till Thursday.
Any fact with regard to any improper conduct, start the discussion. I dare you to start the discussion if you have any fact. How much cash has your Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh deposited in a bank? How much cash has your Chief Minister deposited? Are you willing to discuss that?
For the government, offence seems to be the best defence in the face of strong protest from the opposition camp. The party reminded of the corruption charges against Congress leaders during its tenure. Leader of the House Arun Jaitley snubbed all accusations against his cabinet colleague Sushma Swaraj and shielded Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje and Shivraj Singh Chauhan by asserting that state issues could not be discussed in Parliament.
May I ask a question from Mr. Yechuri? Which provision of law has the External Affairs Minister violated that an investigation can be ordered if he is good enough to educate me? Is there any provision of law that Mrs. Sushma Swaraj has violated? Please educate us on that.
The opposition too was equally unforgiving. Congress's deputy leader in Rajya Sabha, Anand Sharma, gave a notice for suspension of business, demanding Prime Minister's response on the corruption allegations and demanded fixing of accountability. The JDU backed his demands.
I have given a notice for the suspension of business of the day that will include everything.
सोलंकी जी से लेकर आपके अश्वनी कुमार जी, बंसल साहब और अरुण जी हम सब साथ थे. सदन नहीं चला जब तक इनका इस्तीफा नहीं हो गया.
Meanwhile, BSP Supremo Mayawati claimed that it was imperative for the centre to intervene in the Vyapam scam, demanding an impartial CBI probe and resignation of Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister. CPM leader Sitaram Yechury also claimed that Vyapam fiasco had transcended the boundaries of the state.
माननीय उपसभापति जी, हमारी पार्टी का ये कहना है कि मध्य प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री इस्तीफा लेकर सीबीआई जांच के आदेश हुए हैं. आदेश सीबीआई जांच तभी निष्पक्ष तौर से हो पाएगी जब वहाँ पर मुख्यमंत्री का इस्तीफा हो जाएगा.
People who have associated with that have died outside the state. It is not the jurisdiction of one state alone. And therefore, and secondly, I want to make an important point before you rule. The point is, the job of the parliament is to make the government accountable.
Amid escalating war of words, Women and Child Development Minister Menka Gandhi moved the Juvenile Justice Bill. Amid slogans by the opposition members and the verbal duel between the opposition and the Treasury benches, the House was adjourned 4 times before being finally adjourned for the day.
Chair is helpless. I have to adjourn the House.
Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, hardly any business in Lok Sabha as well today. Speaker Sumitra Mahajan warned Congress MPs of initiating disciplinary action against them. But the Congress MPs who came into the House wearing black armbands and carrying placards defended their actions, saying that it was not the first time that these methods were used in Parliament to register a protest.
The Congress party was in protest mode as soon as proceedings began in Lok Sabha. They shouted slogans and held aloft placards, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi was their main target. The members were demanding the resignations of External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and the Chief Ministers of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan over the Lalit Gate and Vyapam scandals. MPs of the left parties also demanded the same. As a result, the Speaker had to adjourn the House till noon.
Stands adjourned to meet again at 2 p.m.
But when the scene remained unchanged after the House reconvened, the Speaker threatened the protesting MPs with disciplinary action.
I would also like to emphatically stress here that in the event of disorderly conduct, I would be constrained to initiate appropriate disciplinary action against the erring members.
The warning was met with more opposition, and this time MPs of both the Congress and the left parties came into the well of the House, and they reiterated that the protests would continue.
मैं नहीं समझता है कि इसमें कोई कठिनाई है और प्रजातंत्र में हम लोगों का पूरा हक होता है और पूरी हमारी जिम्मेदारी होती है कि देश की जनता की आवाज़ है इस प्रजातंत्र के मंदिर में हम सुनाएं और इस पर हम पूरी तरह से अडिग रहेंगे और दृढ़ इच्छा शक्ति से हम लोग कार्य करेंगे.
The government termed the opposition attitude wrong. It said that Sushma Swaraj was ready to answer all opposition queries in the House.
सुषमा जी ने स्वयं जो है स्पीकर से मिलकर यह रिक्वेस्ट किया है कि जो मेरे ऊपर बेसलेस एलिगेशंस लगाए गए हैं उस संबंध में मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ, मैं स्टेटमेंट देना चाहती हूँ, लेकिन विपक्ष जो है बिल्कुल सुनने को तैयार नहीं है. ये बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है.
Besides the Congress, members of the Telangana Rashtra Samiti also protested inside Lok Sabha. They are demanding a separate high court for the state. The Congress meanwhile has said it will continue its protests until the government relents. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Rajya Sabha Select Committee on the GST Bill submitted its report today in the upper house. The Select Panel endorsed majority provisions of the bill, barring suggestions for a few changes. The report, however, is marked by dissent notes from the Congress, AIADMK and left parties, which are opposed to the GST Constitution Amendment Bill in the existing form. Here are the details.
Rajya Sabha Select Committee on Goods and Service Tax accepted almost all of the 21 clauses in the GST Constitution Amendment Bill. It also agreed to the demand of the TMC for a 5-year compensation to states. The committee headed by BJP's Bhupendra Yadav suggested changes in clauses pertaining to compensation and levy of 1% additional tax by states on interstate supply of goods. The bill seeks to create a pan-India tax regime ending the array of central and state taxes.
We have giving a definition of the band also. Then there is a definition which is required about the funds of the local bodies. So select committee give a suggestion that when the state bill will become, so the role of the local bodies and their financial resources must be taken into the care.
Congress has filed dissent on 8 provisions, including composition of the GST Council. AIADMK in its dissent note demanded that petroleum should be kept out of the GST and the representation of states in the GST Council be reduced to 1/4 from 1/3. The left parties raised concerns about the dominant role of the centre in the council.
हम GST के पक्ष में हैं, वो विरोध में थे. दूसरा, GST में जो सोच समझ के बदलाव की ज़रूरत समझी गई, उस पर सुझाव दिए गए, उस पर उनको क्यों आपत्ति है? क्या देश को ऐसा GST देंगे जिससे एक कॉमन मार्केट भारत ना बने?
In the budget session of Parliament earlier this year, the constitutional amendment bill for GST was passed by the lower house with a 2/3 majority. It was subsequently sent to the Select Committee of the upper house. As it is a constitution amendment bill, it has to be approved by 2/3 majority in Rajya Sabha as well. The government plans to roll out the GST by April 1st, 2016. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by P. Vedanathan Iyer, who is the National Affairs Editor of the Indian Express, joining us from the capital. Mr. Iyer, thanks so much for joining us. You know, the Congress claims that the bill, to quote, in fact, from its dissent note, it is pitted with compromises, exclusions and exceptions. Is this criticism valid?
See, frankly, I think, Congress is also being very politically motivated in trying to obstruct the GST bill. It is a very big indirect tax reform which is pending for a long time. And it is Congress which had originally proposed the GST, the goods and services tax at first place, and it was also pending in Parliament for a while during the previous tenure. Of course, the 15th Lok Sabha, the bill lapsed, and this government introduced it again. And I think a lot of concerns have been taken care of in this constitutional amendment bill itself.
All right. But looking ahead of what eventually is, lies ahead for the GST bill, in fact, soon after the Select Committee's endorsement of the GST bill, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley expressed hopes that the implementation of a common goods and services tax regime will not only turn India into a single common market, but also boost GDP growth by 1 to 2%. Listen in.
With the select committee members of all parties barring the Congress, AIADMK, CPI and CPM endorsing the report on the goods and services tax bill, the government is optimistic that political parties will facilitate passage of constitutional amendment bill to implement it.
हमने GST पर भी अपने पूरी तरफ से मदद सरकार की है. अब सरकार को चाहिए कि माहौल सदन का बनाए ताकि बिल पास हो सके.
The GST subsumes many indirect taxes like the central excise, sales tax, VAT or sales tax levied by states, local entry taxes and octroi. The move is expected to broaden tax base, improve export competitiveness by removing tax distortions and create a unified national market by removing interstate barriers to trade. The resultant ease of doing business is expected to boost national income.
एक सिंगल टैक्सेशन सिस्टम लागू करेगा. एक प्रकार से जितने गुड्स और सर्विसेज हैं पूरे देश के अंदर वो ट्रांसफर किए जा सकते हैं. सामान्य टैक्स होगा देश में. इससे टैक्स इवेजन कम होगा. लोगों को सहूलियत मिलेगी. देश की जीडीपी 1.5-2% बढ़ेगी.
Last year, India clocked the fastest growth rate among the major economies, surpassing even China. This year, it is expected to grow at 7 to 8%. But the Modi government is aiming at a double-digit growth in the next 2-3 years, and for that, implementing GST and getting a quantum jump in foreign direct investment will both be crucial. Krishna Tripaঠি's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, P. Vedanathan Iyer continues to be with us on this story. Mr. Iyer, the finance minister hoping of a 1 to 2% boost in GDP. Is that justified? Also claiming that this is the one solution for all economic ills in the country. Is that justified?
I wouldn't say it is one solution for all economic ills, but it is a very, very big movement forward, because what it essentially does is, does away with a lot of cascading taxes at both the central government and the state government levels. Right from octroi, entry tax, entertainment tax to luxury tax. All these taxes are subsumed within the GST. Also, if you look at GST, there is a very good inbuilt input tax credit mechanism which takes care of supply of goods between states, interstates. A lot depends, of course, on a very moderate GST rate. But I think Mr. Jaitley is perfectly fine with when he claims that it will give a boost of 1.5 to 2% of the GDP, because at a time like this, when there are several initiatives being taken on both manufacturing and attracting foreign investment, a common national market with a good common goods and services tax rate. With flexibility for states, I think it makes immense sense, and it will give a big leg up to the economy.
So eventually it all depends on what happens in the upper house. Of course, bill has got the select committee's nod. What do you see are the further hurdles ahead? At least the Congress, of course, going to be creating problems, but fundamentally they are okay with the bill.
I think Congress is perfectly fine with GST as a concept. Couple of things on which the Congress has raised issues, and those issues will be dealt with by the GST Council as and when it is set up, which is provided for in the constitutional amendment bill. So I think essentially it is for the government to politically manage it, in the sense how it breaks the ranks of opposition and gets together like-minded parties in the coming days during the next 21 days of monsoon session, 20 days of monsoon session. I think the government, if it makes very serious efforts, reaches out to certain parts of the opposition which are amenable to the GST per se, creating an environment for discussion and dialogue. I think the government has a fair chance to push through the bill in this session.
All right. They did definitely try to reach out to the public with those huge ads on GST that we saw on the first day of monsoon session. But thanks so much, Mr. Iyer, for joining us with those details there. All right, without a quick break here, still ahead, we're getting international news, and Greek legislators are set to vote on a second set of reforms to get bailout. Details of that ahead.
A new dimension to the land bill debate, allowing states to frame and pass their own laws on it. How feasible, how prudent is this? Watch The Big Picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now let's get you some news from the capital. In the Delhi Lieutenant Governor and the AAP government are at loggerheads once again. The appointment and transfer of senior bureaucrats has been a contentious issue for long, but this time the person in question is the new Delhi Commission for Women Chief, Swati Maliwal. In a sharp response to the appointment, the LG's office has refused to recognize it.
The war of words between the Delhi government and Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung refuses to die down. The latest flashpoint being the appointment of Swati Maliwal as the Chief of Delhi Commission for Women. Just 2 days after she took charge, the LG has declared her nomination null and void, calling it infructuous and in total violation of constitutional provisions. Referring to a Home Ministry order, Jung's office insisted that he is the sole authority in decisions on major issues, including top appointments. But the Delhi government insists no previous appointments to the post had required his permission.
एलजी साहब ने जो आज कहा है वो कुछ नया नहीं कहा है, वो सिलसिला पुराना है और सरकार के काम करने का सिलसिला भी पुराना हो चुका है.
Maliwal meanwhile played safe, saying she respects the constitutionality of the LG's office and hopes the minor issue will be resolved quickly.
मेरे पास कोई भी किसी भी प्रकार का कोई फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन इस मामले में नहीं है और मुझे लगता है कि अगर कुछ है भी तो वो छोटा मोटा कोई टेक्निकल ग्लिच है, क्योंकि दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री ने मेरे को नियुक्त किया है. मेरे पास एक नोटिफिकेशन की कॉपी है और मैं तो अपना काम कंटिन्यू करूंगी.
Opposition parties too raised question over the appointment, accusing AAP of nepotism and favoritism. Swati Maliwal is the wife of AAP leader Naveen Jaihind and has been an advisor to Kejriwal on public grievances.
जब हाई कोर्ट ने और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी उस नोटिफिकेशन को वैध कर दिया है जिसमें सारी अपॉइंटमेंट्स एलजी के माध्यम से होंगी, तो उनको समझना चाहिए कि एलजी को फाइल भेजना जरूरी है.
Face off between the LG and the Kejriwal government is likely to only intensify in the coming days. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat has rejected BJP's allegations of corruption against him. The party has accused him of changing the liquor policy of the state. Rawat in turn says that the BJP is desperate and their accusation is just a ploy to deflect national attention from scams involving its own top leaders. The BJP has alleged that Rawat's personal secretary, Mohammad Shahid, demanded commissions from private dealers for being given liquor licenses. The CM has promised action against Shahid if it is proven that he was the one doing it in a video clipping shot during a sting operation. The BJP also went on to accuse Rawat of accumulating illegal wealth by tweaking the liquor policy to benefit private liquor dealers.
न उन्होंने समय बताया है कब लिया, न स्थान बताया है, न वॉइस ऑथेंटिकेट की है, न और चीज़ें ऑथेंटिकेट की हैं. तो इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि भाजपा बहुत डेस्परेट है.
और उसके तहत ये मिडलमैन इनके साथ मोहम्मद शाहिद जो पीएस है वो उनके साथ बैठ करके चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि कितना देना, कहां देना, कब देना. चीफ मिनिस्टर पद में रहने के लायक नहीं बने भी, वो तुरंत इस्तीफा देना चाहिए.
And now getting a weather update, and heavy rains lashed many parts of India even as a dry spell continued in other regions. The uneven spell of monsoon is however causing great concern about the progress of the monsoon this year. Here are more details.
After 2 days of heavy rains, Mumbaikars had a temporary respite. The showers have eased, but the Met Department is predicting that they will be back in the next 24 hours. Waterlogging and a flood-like situation halted normal life on Tuesday.
अभी तो फिलहाल बारिश नहीं है, लेकिन सवेरे से बहुत तकलीफ झेला.
और ट्रेन भी बहुत सारा लेट था, बसेस नहीं मिल रही थी, इन काफ़ी तकलीफ था सवेरे से।
In neighbouring Madhya Pradesh, the Shipra River once again crossed the danger mark. In northern Jammu and Kashmir, heavy rains forced residents to shift to makeshift camps as rainwater entered the houses.
हमारे मकान गिर रहे हैं, दोबारा गिर रहे हैं, इसलिए मैंने ये छप्पर में बैठे हुए हैं। ये तरपाल है एक, इसमें बैठे हुए हैं, हमें बहुत खतरा है इस नदी का, लिहाजा हमें कोई थोड़ी सहूलत दी जाए। ये तो हमारे अंदर तो मकान के अंदर तो हम रह नहीं सकते, नहीं जा सकते, क्योंकि मकान बिल्कुल बुर्द पड़े हैं और गिर रहे हैं इस वक्त।
For people in West Gujarat's Vadodara city, the rains proved to be a respite after a spell of deficient rainfall. Uneven rainfall drew mixed reactions across the country. Some parts even received excess rains, while other regions are still reeling under a dry spell. In Aurangabad district, the farmers are facing a loss as the extreme hot weather and scanty rainfall caused heavy damage to crops. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
With that, let's get you some more news from across the country in Nationwide. The BJP government told the Supreme Court today that the Constitution does not grant a fundamental right to privacy to citizens. Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi said that the law on the right to privacy is vague. He pleaded that a larger bench be constituted to pass an authoritative verdict on the issue. The Delhi High Court today sought the centre's reply on a petition by the Digital Radio Broadcasting Limited that runs Red FM. The Union Home Ministry had denied Digital Radio permission to take part in an FM auction on grounds that a shareholder, Kalanidhi Maran, was facing prosecution for money laundering. The Gujarat government opposed the anticipatory bail plea of activist Teesta Setalvad and her husband in the Supreme Court today. It said that they misappropriated funds meant for charity for personal expenses like wine and other luxury items, besides tampering with evidence. Explosives were found near railway tracks near the Shabad railway station in Haryana's Kurukshetra district. A search was conducted on the route, during which rail traffic was briefly suspended, but it was resumed soon later. Our international news now, and ahead of the crucial vote on the bailout bill, Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is facing rebellion within his Syriza party. The government presented the bill in Parliament yesterday with a vote expected later in the day. The Prime Minister urged all sections to be united and back the reforms needed for talks on the rescue deal to begin.
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras fending off a spirited attack in Parliament on the direction of his country's economy. Tsipras took on critics of the bailout bill, most of them from his own Syriza party, over the second set of reforms demanded by international creditors. Tsipras attacked rebel MPs, accusing them of hiding behind the safety of his signature. The finance minister claimed that they were hard-pressed for time, while underscoring that it was extremely important for reforms to be passed quickly for further negotiations on Friday.
Για τη διαπραγμάτευση της καινούριας συμφωνίας θα έχουμε 2 εβδομάδες, 3 Σαββατοκύριακα. Οπότε είναι εξαιρετικά σημαντικό να τελειώσουμε με αυτή τη διαδικασία των προαποτομένων.
Οι θυσίες του ελληνικού λαού θα εξανεμίζονται για το τίποτα και συνέχεια θα ζητούνται νέα μέτρα. Σε αυτό λοιπόν το δημοσιονομικό και πολιτικό κατήφορο αρνούμε να βάλω την υπογραφή μου, ούτε κρύβομαι πίσω από δικαιολογίες μηδενικής ουσίας, ούτε εξυπηρετώ τοκογλύφους ή οποιοδήποτε άλλα συμφέροντα.
Like the earlier vote, this one too is expected to be passed with the support of the opposition parties. But Tsipras is hoping to avoid a rebellion within the ranks. Opposition leaders say they will back the bill but criticize the government's handling of the crisis.
Υπάρχει θέμα προτεραιοτήτων της κυβέρνησης. Εμείς είμαστε εδώ να στηρίξουμε και να βοηθήσουμε τη χώρα την ώρα της εθνικής ανάγκης και θα το πράττουμε. Αλλά παρακαλώ την κυβέρνηση και τους κυρίους υπουργούς να μην φέρνουν συνεχώς την εθνική αντιπροσωπεία προ τέτοιων καταστάσεων.
I'm confident these measures will be adopted tonight. That is where we stand at the moment. After months of deadlock, we are now making swift progress on the implementation of the Euro Summit agreement.
Fresh reforms include changes to the Greek banking system and an overhaul of the judicial system. Greece must adopt the bill by Wednesday night to meet the terms of the bailout deal with Eurozone leaders. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more international news in Global Buzz. Iraqi security forces and Sunni tribal fighters have launched an offensive to dislodge Islamic State fighters and secure a supply route in the Anbar province. The offensive came as bomb attacks across the country claimed at least 32 lives on Tuesday. The deadliest attack of them occurred when a car packed with explosives was detonated in the mainly Shia district of New Baghdad, killing 16 and wounding 48. The Pentagon has said that a long-time Al-Qaeda operative and key figure in the so-called Khorasan group, Mohsin al-Fadli, has been killed in a U.S. airstrike in northwestern Syria. Al-Fadli was involved in attacks in the October 2002 attack against U.S. Marines in Kuwait and against the French ship MV Limburg. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff's popularity has slumped to a new low. Support for her impeachment is also on the rise amid a deepening corruption scandal and severe economic downturn. A poll shows her government's approval rating has fallen to 7.7% compared to 10.8% in a previous survey in March. North Korea has erected a taller launch tower at its missile base, possibly in preparation for firing a long-range rocket to mark an important national anniversary in October. The 67-meter tower will be able to accommodate the launch of a longer-range missile than the rocket test fired in December 2012. Under the UN Security Council resolutions, North Korea is banned from conducting tests that use ballistic missile technology. And finally on the news tonight, we are leaving you with pictures of German striker forward Mario Götze's act of martial arts, which he says helped him score the winning goal against Inter Milan this season. We leave you with this.
Okay, thanks for your pretty good job. Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, I'm your fan.